perfect timing. Look at this guy.
Carson.
Everybody, welcome to Mastering Modern Selling. And I just totally forgot. I think we're episode 95?
Sounds right.
94. Noor's probably going to send me a message and tell me what it was, but
it doesn't matter. We finally got Liz here. I don't care what number it is. It's number 1 for all I care.
Woo, look at that. Well, Liz was sharing that she's been on your show a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know, Carson, I have never been a guest on your show.
There's a reason for that. Let's do it, man. Anytime.
Well, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
It's been fun.
Been fun. Well, Liz,
95.
Thanks, Noor. Yeah. So we have episode 95. We have Liz Wendling joining us, and we're talking today about authentic sales strategies. And I expect we're going to have a really good conversation. And I know you two go back some time together. So, Liz, why don't we start by, Tom's not here. I guess I should have mentioned that, which is why I'm fumbling around the intro, because this is normally Tom's job. So, Carson, welcome. I got you here at least today.
Yeah, absolutely. You got all you need. We're good.
That's it. Liz, welcome to the show. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background and your journey? I know you're a coach, you're a trainer, you're a speaker, you're kind of all things sales, and you're the founder of the Sales Clinic. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
And she doesn't mince words, and she's hilarious.
Okay. Well, then permission to then be authentic in myself.
Please.
So I've been in sales for about 30 years in some capacity or another, all the way back from when I had my first sales job, when I lived and worked in New York City over 30 years ago, selling fitness memberships. Wow. And I got fired from that job because they sent us to sales training school where we learned how to sign the contract, get the deal, do what you have to do to get the deal done. And behind closed doors, I was doing the complete opposite. I was talking to people like humans. I was pretending like they were my mom and dad or my sister. And I was doing the total opposite. Yet I was the top salesperson every month for 4 straight months. And when I told my boss what I was doing, I came clean and just said, he's like, I don't get it. You're doing so well. Look, what's in you that's different than my other, there were 4 other sales guys that I trained with. And I came clean and just said, I'm barely doing what you taught me to do. And I'm just treating people like people. And a lot of other dialogue went on. But he basically said to me, get your shit and get out of here. You're fired. And 30 years ago, I realized
you were leading.
And so I left, and I was so bummed and upset and sad, thinking, oh my God, I was doing well and I was closing sales, and people, and they were so happy with me. But as soon as they found out that I was doing something completely different, which I didn't even really know what I was doing, I didn't have a process 30 years ago. I just knew that I was doing what I would have liked somebody to do to me or to treat a family member that way. So fast forward 30 years, and in between, I've been refining and tweaking and learning and changing things around in the sales process that not only align with me, but also align with my clients. The kind of clients who hate to sell, don't want to sound like a salesperson, but they know they want to connect with people on a level that makes them stand out and not look like a commodity.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that start, that introduction. I want to say hi to Bob Britton, or at least aloha to Bob Britton. Thanks for joining us, Bob, and Jeff Leisure. And I like this already. The comments are already getting good. Imagine that. Treat people like humans, not sales quotas.
Crazy.
And you know what's funny is it resonates so much because I remember in my very first sales job, I've talked a lot about how I became an accidental salesperson. I thought I was going into a customer service role, and it was very scripted. Of the 12 people in my training class, only 2 people made it out because everybody else retreated to a previous role that they had been, because they didn't want to do it. It was hardcore, one call close sales. And I led the entire division in sales by far. I mean, we're talking like people would sell 3, 4, 5 deals a day. I was doing like 30, but I got written up because I wasn't following the script, and I didn't try to sell this. Like, I remember vividly, it was like this 95-year-old woman, this full massive phone package. I only sold her this $4 service that she had never had, mind you, ever. She had never had a service ever on her phone. and I managed to land this service, but I got written up. Now, a day later, I did it their way. My sales plummeted. They removed the plan. So I won in the end. But I think it's amazing, Liz, to think about now. You tell a story like that, it catches some people off guard, because I think we've come a long way in embracing authenticity and unique approaches to sales. Not all the way, because that's not always true. But I think we've come a long way in embracing authenticity. What do you think that is?
Well, authenticity, I'm sure there's a lot of people already rolling their eyes about that. That's a word that gets tossed around these days like confetti, and it's almost losing its...
Sorry.
That's an angel? That's an angel. Okay, that's okay. It's losing its steam. And even I mean, I talk about the word, but it's not something I lean on anymore.
Yeah.
But obviously we all have to be authentic. But many times people will just say, be authentic. Just show up and be authentic. Just get on a sales call and be authentic. And that's the stupidest advice you can give to someone, because what does that even mean? How do you be authentic if you don't know yourself, if you don't truly understand how you're coming across, how you're communicating, how your words are landing on people, how your approach is even resonating with someone? Just be yourself is really bad sales advice. And that's to say, oh, I'm oozing authenticity today, maybe I'll close a sale. No, you still need a process, but it's the authentic piece has to come from truly knowing yourself. And I always tell people, if you call me and say to me, I want to learn how to be authentic, or I want to learn authentic sales strategies, I tell them, I can't teach you how to be authentic. You either are or you're not. You have to be that in yourself, and you have to do the work that pulls that out.
One of my favorite topics that we've talked about is kind of your passion around the sales language that we use.
Yes.
When we're connecting with potential buyers, with prospects, with customers, making it about them instead of what we want to do. And what I love is just the very direct and candid feedback that you give in this space. The last time we talked about this was probably about a year ago, but I'd love to get kind of your current state of the state when it comes to what's working, what's not, and what are still some of the biggest mistakes that we're making when we're trying to get that meeting.
Great question. There's 3 parts there. So what's not working is what's happening all over the place, whether it's in my inbox, your inbox, all over LinkedIn, are those bad, poorly written sales messages that are written at someone, not to someone, that actually feel like you wrote this at me, not to me. There's nothing in there that would make me want to lean in and get to know you. Absolutely nothing. So that's the first thing. What is working is a little more personalization and having it land, feeling like you're writing to someone that you know. And that language could be different in every single industry, but it's taking time to scale back a little bit, messages that are a little shorter, not 17 paragraphs in my LinkedIn inbox telling me how great you are, all the wonderful things that you can do for me, and how fabulous you are, and how much I suck because I don't have a 14-figure business. And that is not how to get anyone's attention. And so that's working, not working. And then what are some of the things that get in the way? And that's what you just said, Carson, is the language we're using. And I have probably 30, 40, 50 pieces of content on words when it comes to someone even asking for the meeting, saying, I would love to get on your calendar. I'd love to set up a time to talk to you. I'd love to find out more about your business. And these are the very people that say, I don't want to be self-serving. I don't want to be one of those salespeople. So what I'll do is I'll show up and be self-serving and one of those salespeople by telling someone what I would love to do to them versus inviting them to a conversation. When you say to someone, I would love to get on your calendar, the person receiving that is saying, sure you would. You're trying to sell me something. Delete. So that's just one of many examples. But think of the energy when you get an email that says, I would love to find some time on your calendar to tell you how great I am. The energy that comes out, that's writing at someone, not to someone. There's no invitation. That's a command, not a request. So stop commanding that you get people's time and start requesting their time, and give them enough inside that email that makes them want to give you that time.
Love it. Don't tell customers that you'd love to explore synergies. Cut
Right.
it out.
Synergy should just not be a word you ever use anymore, right?
Yeah, that's on the
Yeah.
banned list for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Good. Liz, can you keep that going? I'm very intrigued by it. I mean, so you talked at the beginning. The title of this is around bridging passion and purpose. You've talked a lot at the beginning about people just getting to know themselves and do the work. And now you're talking about the way that we communicate with them. I want to hold up there because are there many environments where salespeople are actually encouraged to do the work and get to know themselves so that they can show up authentically? Or is it kind of an oxymoron that we're telling them, hey, do the work, know yourself, speak well, get to know them, invite them into things or whatever. And yet too often the environment they're in doesn't really allow that or encourage that.
Right. I have to agree with that. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. Some companies do want to touch on the mindset and really dig in deep to find out, what are you saying to yourself before you even get on a call with someone? What do you tell yourself every day when you go to work before you even show up? Here we go again, another crappy day. I haven't closed a sale in a month. What's another month? And it's what happens up here is really what you wind up manifesting outside. So yes, there's some companies that do mindset stuff, but for the most part, they just say, just be authentic. You know what to do. You have your scripts. Just go for it. Have a great day. You're smart. You can handle this. And it's all that pep talk crap that does nothing for anyone. So what they're left to do is to try to figure out, okay, then I'll just be authentic. And here's what happens when you say you're going to be authentic, but you're projecting something else. And you can think you're showing up authentic and going, no, I'm about the customer. I really do want to help people. But yet your sales process doesn't reflect that. So you're saying one thing and doing something different. For example, someone might say, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just here to help you make an informed decision. Or I don't sell, I serve. My goal is to inform you, not sell to you. And the worst offenders are those serving and selling comments. I'm not a salesperson. I serve. I'm here to serve you, not to sell you. And I call BS on that big time because too many people try to separate serving and selling. When they are so darn intertwined, it's impossible. They're two distinct activities in a sales process and closely related, but they are different. You cannot separate it out. You can't say to yourself, oh, look at me, I'm serving. Oh, now I'm going to do a little selling. So I tell people to think of selling and serving as the equivalent of inhaling and exhaling. So inhaling constantly without exhaling will kill you, and serving without selling in your business is going to kill your business. So you can't do one without the other. And I use the example of an infinity symbol where it doesn't end. You can't tell. It's always moving and you can't tell where it stops and where it starts. So sales is that. Selling and serving is a fusion of that. And it's a continuous loop, making it impossible to go, oop, no, you're serving. Oop, now you're selling. So this BS that people tell themselves that I'm not selling, I'm serving, yet they show up with the energy of either a servant who gives away everything, or you turn into a salesperson. So again, here it comes back to that authenticity piece of it. If you don't know yourself and you can't catch yourself in a sales conversation where you're making it about you, or are you making it about them?
Well, and you hit on something really important earlier, Liz, about, it falls on the sales leadership a lot of times to set the tone and make sure that we're not giving those meritless, empty pep talks. Like you've got to arm folks with the tools, but you've also got to model the behavior that you're expecting. And a lot of times within sales, service, it's all about articulating the value that you bring. One of my favorite lines of yours is cut the fluff. And you said something earlier about, the getting to the meat, being brief, be brilliant, be gone, however you want to spin it. I was one of those people, and I admit it, years ago, that I would write this big, long, amazing email to this senior executive, and I pat myself on the back on how articulate I sounded, and this is guaranteed to get a reply.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that I get the most response rate when I send something that's maybe 2 sentences.
That's right.
You get to the point very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make it about yourself, and you show up unique and stand apart from the noise. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And you leave out the crap and the fluff, which is, I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope this email finds you well, and all that junk that when you put that in an email to someone you don't know, it causes them to roll their eyes and go, here we go again, another self-serving salesperson. Here we go again. Do I really think that you tapped out an email really hoping that I had a fabulous weekend? Doubt it. Doubt it. So now you've already put me on alert that you are just trying to butter me up to sell me something. So when you say, I hope you had a great weekend, and then you go right into a sales pitch, you're doomed when you start doing that. So that's part of that fluff. It's get to the point. Leave that crap out because no one believes it. And especially when you don't know someone or hardly know someone when you start out with language like that. And here's where, again, that serving and selling. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Hope you're having a great weekend. That's what's going through the prospect's head. They might not be able to articulate and say to themselves, I sure don't like when someone sends me an email with that in there. But something viscerally is happening in their body, and they're like, who is this clown? Mm-hmm. And so try writing an email without that garbage in the front. And if your ego is so big that you have to put that in there, put it at the end. That's what I tell my clients. It's like training wheels. If your ego's that big and you have to say, hope you had a great weekend, jam it at the end, because chances are they're not going to read your email anyway if it's at the beginning. Put it at the end. Be nice. Do something different. But remember, this is you trying to serve, not sell. And people can get in trouble with this, because when you do more serving than selling, or you do more selling than serving, you create an imbalance with yourself and the client. And no one could figure out what the heck's going on. They don't like me. I don't like them. There's this weird energy, and you're disrupting the rhythm and the harmony of a fabulous buying experience and getting to know someone. And when you serve and don't sell, you confuse the crap out of people. If all you do is serve, then you are causing resistance, because people are wondering, okay, why are you serving me so much? Why are you being so nice? This doesn't feel right. You have to figure out your blend, and you can only do that when you know yourself.
That's great. Brenda, we need to do an episode on like the greatest cardinal sins of sales.
There are so many.
One of sales and one of personal branding, and throw it together and call it a best of.
It's amazing that we can still come up with great ideas 95 episodes in.
Yeah, it takes us a while. Liz, we had on our agenda, and I wanted to get here, and I don't know if this is the best spot to put it in, but I don't want to miss out on it. The consultative and the client-centric approach, I think it's another one. We've talked about a lot of cliches already today. Mm-hmm. Some of the cliches that we put in our emails or whatever, they hit that spam filter and people have a gag reflex and they don't even pay attention to the rest of it. Or the one that I love is somebody that goes, you know what, I'm not a salesperson. I love to serve. It's like, that's the biggest cliche that tells me you're here to try and sell me as much as you possibly can.
That's
right.
It's so overused, and it causes that gag reflex that you said. It really does. Unless you mean it and prove it and show it on such a level that I could feel that you are here for a different reason, then and only then will I give you the time of day. And very few people can do that unless, again, go back to themselves, because you can't say one thing and do something different.
Yeah. Not get away with it anyway.
Right.
So the client-centric approach, it is another term that gets thrown out, but what exactly is it, and why is it really, truly so important? And most teams say they do it and don't.
And I see this again as this like beautiful red thread that moves through a conversation. And client-centric means that you create, when you have a good connection, it creates a comfort. And then that comfort starts to build a little trust. That trust then reinforces some of the value that's being translated and talked about. And then that value is what people start leaning into when they're ready to buy from you. because you've pulled that red thread through your conversation and you're creating what needs to be created in a really good, deep, robust sales conversation where there's something there. I'm not talking about just somebody who isn't interested in your product or service. When they step up, there's a real interest, but it's pulling that thread and making them feel comfortable and yourself comfortable as well. But it's also being able to poke the bear a little bit as well and not being afraid to just don't want to be nice all the way through. I think sometimes you have to be not nice in the sense of where you have to push a potential client and say, I'm feeling a disconnect here. You mentioned this, but now you're saying this, and I don't want to continue the conversation until we address that. I'm not going to sit here and just be nice when that's not what people are getting on the phone with me for. They want a robust conversation to find out if their problem's big enough, wide enough, deep enough, and costly enough to fix.
That's good. Hey, Liz, Bob had this comment on here. I'd love to hear your take on. A lot of these issues are unique to the hyper-capitalistic U.S. way of selling. Do you think that's accurate?
That it's just here in the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
Heck no. I have clients in Austria and one in, she's in the Cayman Islands. And then I worked with a law firm in London. Not at all. They're saying the same thing. Hope you're doing well. They might not say it the exact same way, but they're putting in the BS and the junk in the trunk right in the beginning. So it's really not.
I want to hit on follow-up too. I know you've got some thoughts there too. We've got a lot of just really wonderful ways of following up with customers, like, hey, checking in and, making sure we're still aligned. What do we need to get rid of and what do we need to bring in order to effectively follow up with customers and be truly client-centric?
Oh, I just really enjoy talking about that.
I know how to push your button.
It lights me up. Well, every one of us probably today maybe could have received 5 or 10 emails that say, I'm just following up, just touching base, just reaching out and just checking in. And they're making this big grand announcement of the activity that they're already doing. First of all, why do you have to announce it? I'm just checking in, I'm following up. And it's always followed up with the weakest next sentence, which is usually, just wanted to see if you had any questions about the proposal I sent you last week. Like I don't know, I could ask you a question if I have one. And I don't know that you're following up with me because I didn't respond to you. And this is your only way in my inbox now. Just wanted to touch base to see if you got any more information about A, B, and C. And it is the push. It feels like a push in the sales conversation. Knock, knock. I'm trying to move you. Here I am again. Can we push this forward? I have a quota to make. I got babies to feed and I have a mortgage to pay. I'm coming in and I need to get something from you to let me know where I stand versus having a conversation about follow-up before you even send your first follow-up message. So first thing is get rid of following up, touching base, reaching out, checking in, anything that sounds like a big, grand drum roll of an activity that you're already doing. Get to the point, short and sweet, and the reason why you're getting back to someone. But also a conversation. If you're in a meeting with someone, now 20 years ago, we used to teach, get the meeting right then and there. Book another meeting. That's not bad advice, but just booking a meeting does not mean that you're moving the process forward. So I like to teach people to talk about follow-up while they're in the meeting. What does it look like? Who's connecting with who? What does this look like? Maybe even saying, look, I'm not the type of person that follows up endlessly with someone after a conversation like that. You and I made a connection. We identified this, and this. How would you like to continue our conversation? What does that look like so that we respect each other's time, that I respect your inbox, that I respect your decision-making process? Let's talk about it. And then I get to put that in my email.
It's phenomenal. No, I think a lot of times people fumble because they don't know exactly what to say, and don't get me wrong. I mean, you obviously mentioned the quota, the babies to feed, but there's also those fire breathing managers over their neck that It's like, where's the deal? And so I think sometimes sellers just fumble with what to do next. And I think the key element is if you've actually built a relationship with this customer, and you can very respectfully reach back out and say, hey, as we mentioned, I've got
Right.
resources aligned. I am targeting this date per our prior conversation. If that's changed, I need to know, because
That's
I'll
it.
need to let these resources go, or whatever the case may be. And to your point, short, sweet, to the point, but it's got to be direct
And
and
respectful, because short
respectful.
and sweet is respectful.
It
You
is.
don't have to butter it all up. I know you're busy. I don't want to keep bothering you. I know you have a lot going on. You have a lot on your plate, and they butter this stuff up. But all it does is sound like you're apologizing for doing your job. And that's just does not land very well.
I feel like we should all be keeping a tally, though. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this episode of every one of these sends that I have done at some point in
We
my
all
sales
have.
career.
Yep.
Because let's be honest, we've all said this garbage at some point.
Yeah.
And I think the point of today is get rid of it. It's not working.
Right.
If by some chance you lucked into getting a response this way, kudos to you, but the odds were probably 1 in 100. And if you perfect your message, you're going to get a lot better response.
Absolutely. And again, always going back to that serving and selling energy. When you show up with servant energy, think of a server in a restaurant. What can I get you? Oh, you need more water? Oh, you dropped your fork. I'll be right back. And you have this more like giving energy, but it's awkward giving energy. It's not a beautiful exchange of energy. So sometimes people take serving way too far, and they show up as a servant, not a professional equal. And there's a big difference from I'm just serving you, I'm not selling you, versus, hey, wait a second. We've been talking about this for a long time. You and I are professional equals. We have a great rapport now, and we've had great conversations. You can talk to someone, not at someone. So oftentimes that servant energy puts you in a needy or a less than position, like your follow-up messages and just touching base. But that decreases your credibility and diminishes your value in the eyes of a prospect, because you're communicating, I'm just here to serve you. I'm just here to do anything. I'll bend over backwards. I'll jump through hoops. I'll bend over into a pretzel. I'll stand on my head for you because I'm just here to serve. And this may shock a lot of you, but potential clients don't want to just be served. They want alignment from a professional who's authentic and kind and strong and purposeful. They want a conversation between two business equals. So selling and serving is about leading and moving. Selling and serving is about leading and moving people into action, and hopefully take action with you.
That's right.
Hey, Liz, we've said a lot of like what you shouldn't do. And I get that. I mean, I'm thinking, it's Carson, as you said earlier, I'm thinking of some of the sins I've done. Like, oh yeah, I sent that. Like, hey, hope you're doing well. Got the things. What are some examples of how we can do it differently? Get us a little tactical and tangible.
Okay. So let's say you're getting ready to tap out an email and you want to say, I hope you're doing well. Or it's a prospecting email and you want to say, hope you had a good weekend. I hope this email finds you well. All that stuff. I want people to stop, resist. If you have to type it out and erase it, that's fine. But think of where you would start your message. The very next line. So would you say in our last conversation, hey, Bob, you and I spoke 3 weeks ago regarding X, Y, and Z. That's like what Carson said. Get right to the point. Hit the target right out of the gate. People are reading their emails, sitting at red lights. They take it into the bathroom. They're doing it. They're walking through an airport, reading their emails. They don't have time for the fluff anymore. They just don't. So get to the meat and get to the reason why you're connecting with them. So a prospecting email, get right to the point. You don't even have to say, I'm sorry to barge into your inbox. You're barging into my inbox and you are bothering me. But if you say something great, I'm going to listen to you. So don't use language that makes you feel good for doing the job you've been hired to do. Stop using language that diminishes your credibility and start taking control of your messages and get to the point. And think of speaking to someone, not at someone. And would you answer an email that you sent to someone? So that's one example, is getting to the meat of the message. And we talked about, stop saying, I would love to get on your calendar. I'd love to meet with you. I'd love to find out more about your business. I talk endlessly about this one because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. At the end of a really good email, they say, I would love to get on your calendar. If this is something you're struggling with, I'd love to show you how we can help. Well, I said earlier, that is a command or a demand. That is not an invitation into a conversation. And let's say you're cold calling and you're having a conversation, or maybe even a cold email. The I would love is all about you. Think about how you can make it collaborative, and invite someone in. What are your thoughts on? How do you feel about? Are you free next week to grab some lunch and have a conversation around? What's your schedule like? Don't tell them what you would love to do to them. Invite them into a conversation so they will fall in love with you, and you don't have to use the L word in any of your messaging.
Keep that bad L word out of sales messages.
And really, the bottom line is, it's not that the love word is bad. It's just that it's overused. It's so abused. It pushes people away. It's so self-serving that it doesn't move the conversation along. So what these people who say, no one ever gets back to me. I send email after email and I can't get anybody to schedule an appointment with me. And all I have to do is say, send me your last 3 emails. And I do a deep dive into what did you say? And I scratch my head because so many of them sound like everyone else. They're not unique. They're not the only people using the love language. There's a lot of people dropping L-bombs all day long.
Yeah, feel free to tell your customer, hey, I love that you just sent me that purchase order. Liz, you know what I'd love to ask about is,
you just said love, Carson.
I know I did, on purpose. In your coaching business, Liz, talk to us about the transformation that you see. So to your point, you just made the comment that, hey, I'm not getting results, but it's send me what you're sending your customers. And I'd love to hear kind of the from to, what are you seeing and how's that evolution? I tell sellers all the time, a lot of times it's not a massive overhaul of your process that's required to have exponentially better results. A lot of times it's small tweaks, might be a few words here and there. It might be going from a 3-paragraph email to a couple of sentences. It's working smarter and doing things that show up with value. And what I loved about what you said too is about when we're reaching out to customers, some of these things that we've all done, these sins, if you replace them with just smarter statements, I'll point out a value story of why a customer should want to meet with me,
right? The
value that I think I can bring, and then please let me know your availability this coming week so we can align. Yep. It's that simple. And it's that I get a really good response rate.
And every industry is different. So I work with interior designers, family law firms, bankruptcy law firms, all the way to CPAs, financial planners. But the theme is they're all selling their invisible service. Yeah. All invisible. So everyone starts to sound the same. Every process looks the same. Every initial consultation looks the same. So oftentimes I will secret shop. I'll be hired to secret shop a company. So for example, I work with a couple of family law firms around the country that they hire me via Zoom. And if they're here in Denver, I do it in person. I have a fake diamond ring that I wear. And I literally will sit and pretend I'm going through a bankruptcy or got a DUI or was hurt in an injury accident, or I'm looking for a divorce. And I scrutinize their process, because for me, there's nothing like catching someone in the act of doing what they're doing. Nothing like it. They say they're doing this, but really it's showing up this way. So that for me is one of my favorite things to do. I feel like I must have been an actress in a past life, but that's for me to be able to get in the moment with someone who's just doing what they do every day. And then I could report back to where the gaps, the holes, and the issues are, and articulate it in such a way and give them an example of how this might be different. I have 99% track record of getting hired and 100% track record of no one ever said to me, I knew you were fake. I knew you weren't a real client, because I take on the persona and the mindset of somebody in that exact process. And there's no way anybody would think they're being secret shopped. So that's the most ideal situation that I work in, when they're hiring me to do that. Or if they call me on the phone and say, look, we don't know where to start. We don't know what's broken. Oftentimes I'll do a mock consultation or a mock conversation or a mock sales process with someone. And I want to hear what you say, how you say it. I want to see your emails. I want to see what you're sending to prospects. And that I do like a business MRI, and in my sales clinic, I do MRIs and CAT scans of their business. I want to take it through a machine. I want to see what's working, what's not, where you're tripping up. And then the transformation is being able to, like you said, Carson, a little tweak here and a little tweak there. It's like going to the eye doctor. Is this more clear or is this more clear? And that's where the training starts. It's working on the things that are clearly broken, fixing some of the things that need a little refining, and then putting it together in a way that works for that industry, that company, that law firm, and there's continuous follow-up after that with me. I don't just train and leave. They are tethered to me through another year of having me basically on staff as their coach. That someone says, I was doing great for the last couple of months and I don't know what's going on. Typically, people fall back into bad behaviors. We all do. But it's really nice to have a coach on standby who says, oh, let's fix that. I got what's wrong. And then go in there and it's like going to the doctor or the chiropractor and you get a little crack in your back, off you go. You do not need me for the rest of your life. You need me to come in there, do an MRI and a CAT scan, figure out what's wrong, and then put it back together in a way that actually creates a transformation and feels good to the person using it. It has to feel good. And I give permission to all of my clients. If something is off, if it doesn't feel good leaving your lips, then let's figure out something that does. Because every time you say it, you'll trip over those words. I want it to feel as though it was custom-made sales language just for your business.
I like that, because the reality is, Liz, you've got to get them past that comfortable way of mediocrity or comfortable way of failing. Yeah. You know, I think even if you believe that a way of doing something is better than what you're doing, it doesn't feel right. It's like new muscle. Yep. So you do it 5 times and you don't necessarily get the result you wanted right out of the gate. I've seen so many people go back to their comfortable way of failing because it feels better.
Yep.
That's why I believe that if you work out a way, I had a sales rep years ago that wound up on my team. It was a funny story because there was a manager that I competed with all the time. And this manager actually recruited this person, but didn't want them on their team. And they wound up on my team. And they were not performing very well. And so I sat down with this person and we, in essence, constructed a script, but I made sure it was in this person's voice. Mm-hmm. So they felt comfortable with every word that was coming out of their mouth. The first quarter, they made Fortune 500. In your face, other manager. But what I love about that is that, to your point, they've got to feel good about it. You stay, you get them past those jitters of wanting to go back and revert to the comfortable way of failing so that they can be smooth sailing. Something I want to get your take on as well, Liz, because we talked so much about sales language and the importance of leveraging the right language in modern selling. Right now, AI is all over the place. You know, people are leveraging AI to write emails, to could create outreach for customers, even LinkedIn posts. And first off, how do you stay ahead of all that noise and stand out? But second, how do you recommend actually leveraging it as you're looking to make your messaging better?
It will be about the prompt, first of all, is to ask it, leave out the fluff and the BS, like, hope you had a great day, because ChatGPT is famous for saying, hope all is well, hope you had a good weekend. Famous for that. So what's happening is now AI is now teaching people to use that crappy language, whereas sales trainers used to teach people to use that crappy language.
Job security for you.
Right. So AI is doing me wonders because people say, I could have written this email. And so it's sounding a lot like the crap that's already out there. So, and I believe that's because all that stuff is out there, and that's all it's just being duplicated there. There is no different language, a lot of different language out there in the sales world. And that's why this comes into that customization, knowing yourself, asking yourself, would I talk like that? Would I send a message that sounds like that? And I'm all for using AI for lots of different things. But if you are using AI and not tweaking it or toning down the message or lighting it up a little bit or adding your flair or putting a little humor in it that reflects who you are, then you are baiting and switching someone. You're sending a message, they get you on the phone and they're like, who is this dud? Or who is this person? This doesn't even sound like the message I just received. You're creating a disconnect right out of the gate. So use it, but use it and make sure you impart yourself into that. You make sure you're showing up in those messages or outreach or whatever you're using it for. And I've seen a lot of posts on this that AI has a lot of language that everyone uses. For example, in today's modern world, and however, and let's delve into there's a lot of same language. So you're giving yourself away that I didn't write this message to you. I wrote it at you. The minute you start doing that, you're done.
I love that you said that, because I will tell you, like, I'll use AI to help me write messages to prospects often, but I may get like a 3-paragraph output, and I'll take that one sentence that was like perfectly aligned to their website or their recent, earnings statement or whatever it was, and I'll hone in on that one piece and cut out the rest.
Right.
So it's like, use it to make you better.
Yes, that is true. That's really the bottom line. Make you better. Use it because it's there and it isn't going anywhere, but use it to take what you have now and ask it to make you a little more professional, maybe a little more funny. Maybe you're thinking you have to be super buttoned up and professional in your writing when in fact the opposite is proving to be true. A little humor, a little joke, a little emoji, something that lightens it up a little, because so many people are tired of the message that's coming at them constantly. We all wake up to a filled inbox on email and on LinkedIn and everywhere else. And how is anybody going to decipher a message that should be read by them that's coming from you to everyone else who looks exactly the same, sounds the same, there's flavor is the same. It's a bunch of vanilla emails in a vanilla inbox. And then people wonder why I can't close any sales. So that's
that uniqueness. And Carson, we had John Seelig on about 3 weeks ago and talking about using humor in the sales process, in the messaging or in the cold call process, and comparing his stand-up to it. That was really good. Hey, Liz, before we wrap up, we had on our agenda too, talking about aligning a personality with their sales style. Can you speak a little bit to that? Because I think so often it's just easier for sales leaders to be kind of cookie cutter, one size fits all. Here, off you go, smack them on the backside and say, go get them, Tiger. Whether it's a sales leader that's working with a team and trying to help individuals discover their personality, figure out their voice, and align it with the sales process, or it's a producer that's in a role that they're just like, I've got to make this my own. Yeah. How do you speak to somebody about that? Like, what's that process look like?
I like to have their attorneys or their sales team try it out, test a message, write it out in the way that you want to write it. Forget what you're being taught, forget the scripts that are there, and test things out. Write it and see how you feel. Say it and see, wow, that actually, I like saying that better than this. Or, oh, that sounds more like me than the stuff I've been saying. So go into test mode and allow people to tap out a couple of emails or write a few scripts with their personality and who they are infused into that. And then if it needs a little refining, that's fine. I was just working with a criminal defense law firm here in Colorado Springs, and I was secret shopping this man, and he dropped the F-bomb within the first 2 minutes of me secret shopping him. And he used it all the way through, but he could get away with it. He had a big beard. He was a big guy, and he was like fierce looking. And at first I was a little taken back, But toward the end of the consultation, I thought, all right, we could work with this. I didn't like that it was all the way through and he wasn't really, I didn't feel like there was a lot of respect right out of the gate, but we worked with that. And I said, could you say it this way instead of that way? And right out of the gate, could you do this instead of that? Maybe say to someone, look, I don't believe in talking BS. I know you're here. You got a DUI last night. We need to talk about what's going to happen for the rest of your life if you don't get your shit together right now. You could talk like that if that's who you are. But then if I have a family law attorney who starts doing that in a call, no. But this guy infused his natural way of talking to people. We refined it, and it actually made him even better. It made people like him even more because he wasn't so right out of the gate in your face. And so that's where that comes in, where you can be who you are, but you want to temper it and look at it and see how it's landing and if it's working.
So what I hear is test, try it, see how it feels. It's like a new pair of shoes. You got to wear them a little bit to see if they fit in.
It's like practice.
Yeah.
You know? Sellers should practice too.
Absolutely. And it can be done. That's the beauty. When I see firms at the end of our training say, oh my God, everybody is so happy because they're being themselves. They're authentic. Like, that's when they're actually using the word authentic in the right way, because it feels good to them. It sounds like them. It comes out of them as if it was truly them creating this language, because most of it was created by them. Together we do that. But I like to pull it out. Do you like this or do you like this? Could you think about saying it this way instead of this way to get the best impact? And then they go try it, and then they report back, or we tweak it and modify it. But yes, that takes time. But so does losing a whole lot of business take a lot of time too. So you're either losing business and it's costing you a fortune, or you pay to get the training to tweak it in such a way where you get to use it for the life of your business. You have a choice: keep losing money or invest in the solution.
Well, and I think it's a tip for our sales leaders out there too, because, you know, I think sometimes we get so married to, it's got to be done this exact way, or it's got to be done my way. Mm-hmm. And we don't give our teams sometimes at least the carte blanche to be able to try some things.
Yes.
You know, I'm a firm believer. Everybody has earned the right to be in the role they're in. And if I hadn't had managers in my life that had at least greenlit me to be able to do things the way that I felt they needed to be done, I wouldn't have had the success I've had. And I think sometimes because of micromanagers or maybe poor managers that haven't been trained, that, you know, there's no malice intended.
Right.
We fail to give our teams the opportunity to try.
Well said.
Liz, you have a business diagnostic MRI, or a way to assess and realign your sales tactics. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how people could actually use that in their own sales teams?
It's done through me. So I do the full diagnostic. I'm the doctor, I'm the practitioner. So I'm sorry?
Give us a little bit about that process. I think you were explaining a little bit when you go in and secret shop and things like that. But what are some of the other like nuggets that'll come out of that? If somebody's saying, "Hey, we might need to go do one of these diagnostic processes," what are some of the outcomes that can come out of it?
Some of the things that even surprise me sometimes is we find gaps, and a big gap and a hole in their process where, wait a minute, you're waiting this long to get back to someone, or hold on, you just talked to them yesterday and you're already sending this. What if you did this instead of that? So I have this, I don't know where it came from, but I can actually go to a company or a law firm and almost see their process. And I feel like I know the right questions to ask. So it's getting in so deep and looking at the process and how it flows and figuring out, do we need to pull something out or put something in? Is something missing? Do we need to tweak this? Do we need to scale back on certain things? But it's so unique to every single company because everything I do is customized. I don't have cookie cutter. There is no one size fits all. I spend a lot of time with a client when they hire me. And so it's a little bit of getting inside their business. So not only doing a secret shop, but then also doing all those mock consultations, conversations. Send me 20 of your past emails, and I can get in there and get a flavor and a baseline of where they're at and where they say they want to go and how we get there.
It seems like your intuitive nature plus your 30 years experience doing it is where the sweet spot is. Like you find it, but it's really hard to just point somebody in that direction. Like
Correct.
it's that combination of your intuition and experience that helps identify it.
I would tell people though, right now, test it for yourself right now. Go back and look at the last 20 emails you sent. Do they sound like everyone else? Do you drop the L word? Are you saying, I'm sorry to bother you, I hope this email finds you well? Is there fluff in there that can be taken out? Can you be more direct? This would be the stuff I would be looking for if you sent me 20 emails. Go test it for yourself and watch what happens. But be careful of this. Don't think that you can have the same mindset. I say a crappy mindset and an amazing sales process. You can't. They both have to be aligned. So don't think that you could just take out the L word and you're going to magically transform your business. You've got to infuse that mindset and skill set together where you're aligned with the messaging that you're putting out and not just saying, fine, I'll take out the L word. Let's see if this lady knows what the heck she's talking about. And you do that with a crappy attitude, nothing's going to happen. So first work on you before you even send that email and then make any kind of switch.
Yeah, it's all got to be in the spirit of like honing and mastering your craft.
Yep.
I've run literally the same sales play to the same set of people and had like 10x better response rate because I tinkered with the formula just a little bit.
That's it.
Had
Yeah.
a shorter email, was a little bit more direct and to the point, cut out graphics and fluff, and I got 90 replies as opposed to 10.
I like Bob's little suggestion here.
That's a good one.
Count the ratio of I and we to you in your emails.
It's a great one.
did. Yeah, I think I even have a video on my LinkedIn about that, where it's like, I want to tell you this. I'd like to share a little bit of that. I have something and it's appalling how many times people use the I word in their messaging.
And it's subtle in a way, isn't it? Right? Like it's easy to write messages like that. You're talking about the fluff. It's easy to say, hey, I hope you had a good weekend and I have this and I have that. I mean, it's kind of easy and for a lot of people, it's almost intuitive. Like, well, I'm explaining to them, or I'm trying to teach them, or explain something to them. But when you pause a little bit and you look at yourself, like I like to use a word like, do you know what it's like to be on the other side of you?
Right.
Like you get on the other side of this and receive it and see where all the pitfalls are, and go, oh wait, I could cut off that fluff. I can get direct to the point. That's about me, not about them. Let me rewrite it. It doesn't take much, but I like what you keep saying. It's really getting into that. And I know this is a big one for Carson. It's that mindset around what you're really doing.
Well, you got to get in your own head sometimes.
That's right.
I wrote a column, an organizational column, like 20 some odd years ago. And my editor literally came back to me and circled every time I said the word I. And it was inadvertent. But a lot of it was like, I want to make sure you guys know, or, I want to thank you for XYZ.
Yep.
You know what's funny? That was 20 years ago, but it's still in my head every day. And it's like, I purposely, when I'm writing email, will omit the word I or minimize utilization of it because of that.
Here's another one. When you say to someone, I thoroughly enjoyed our meeting yesterday. It's all about you. It's not about the other person. So you start right out of the gate talking about yourself. I enjoyed our conversation. So I call those language landmines, word bombs, and phrase grenades. And if you're putting language landmines into your messages, it's going to blow up in your face. So watch your language landmines, word bombs, and phrase grenades, because they will kill your business. They will blow it up. You take them out and watch what happens to you and your bottom line.
Yeah, take out the L word, take out the F word, follow up.
So many more.
Yeah. It reminds me, we haven't talked about these as much lately, Carson, but some of the key words that we've said or the key phrases for this modern selling approach. And one of them was go slow to move fast. I'm just trying to encourage people, slow down. We know you got all this pressure, but when you slow down, you pick things up pretty quickly and go, I don't need that. And I should rephrase that. Just slow down a little bit.
That's brilliant, because you're doing the activity anyway. why not take an extra 5 seconds before you hit the send button and see if this is a message that I would respond to? Does this sound like me? Is this how I want it to land on the other person? So if you don't want to take those 5 seconds, then you better get used to hearing a lot of no's, hearing a lot of excuses why they went with someone else. You're too expensive. We're not doing this right now. We're going to put this on hold. You are doing this to yourself. And many times it's you that's doing this, not the other person.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And take those 5 extra seconds, because you push people away when you don't take the time to craft that message that really sounds like you and feels like you and lands in the way that you intended to.
Yeah. You know what I like about this, and Liz, I say this with praise and respect. What you're saying is very logical. It's simple. I know this is why you're in a job, because it's simple, but people make it very complicated and confusing, and they try to get too quick, and that's why you have job security and what you do. But it's very logical. It's very simple. Just slow down, think about the way this would be received, and is that really the message and the tone and the way you want to position yourself?
Yeah.
If not, take the 5 minutes to redo it. And then guess what? Then the one you do in an hour, it'll be better because you took 5 minutes right now to make that one better. And it just is that escalating effect, but it all has to start from that mindset of pause. What's it like to be on the other side of me? Can I do this better?
Yes. Perfect.
I used to always ask my team, like, are you 100% satisfied or even 90% satisfied with your current results all up? And if you're not, why are you so married to them that you refuse to change your process in ways like this that might make you better?
Comfortable failure, as you call it.
Yeah. And oftentimes people will say sales is a bad word, or I hate to sell, especially in my world with the people I work with. I don't like to sell. Sales is gross to me, and I don't want to do that. I would rather market my services than sell my services. And when they say, I don't want to sell, or I don't like to sell, I don't like how I feel, I don't like that sales conversation, again, they're making it all about themselves. So what if you took the attention off of yourself and said, I hate to sell, and you had a conversation with someone else without you? Take yourself out of it. It's about the other person. When you say, I hate to sell and I don't want to do it, and you give yourself permission to avoid it, it's a bad excuse not to do the work, learn the skills, master the craft. So you hide behind the stigma because it gives you permission to not to have to go out there and test what really does work. Ouch. Wow. Sorry, but it's the truth because I see it every day. Stop giving yourself permission to be bad or mediocre. Get out there and bust open and try some things out. See what's working for you. But first, you have to want to get out there and shift a little bit and stop going back and saying that sales is bad or nothing works or cold calling doesn't work. You keep saying that stuff and you give yourself permission not to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's good. Well, Liz, this has been great. I appreciate your passion around it. I like your direct approach. I appreciate everything that you said. Before we wrap up, if somebody wants to find you and talk with you, how's the best way for them to do that?
They can go to my LinkedIn at lizwendling.com, or just my website is LinkedIn is Liz Wendling, but my website is lizwendling.com.
Perfect. All right.
You got to put Bob's comment up in the chat. That's one sale I can never make, Bob. I'm not even the greatest salesperson in my family, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't win that between wife and 5 kids. I don't ever really win that argument. You know, the only time I win that argument is when I go out on my own. If I need to go grab something for lunch during the workday or something.
There you go. Or my birthday or Father's Day.
Yeah.
Even then I could get, are you sure you want to go there? Didn't we do that last year? Oh, wait, you know what? You're right. No, I don't. I just said that. I don't really want to go there. Yeah.
It's all influence and persuasion.
That's right.
And selling is not a bad thing. It's the only way you're going to stay in business. So love it, enjoy it, wrap your head around it, do it well, and stop pretending that it's the hardest thing you do in your business. It's not. When you do it well, if you're not selling and you're not closing business, it means you're the problem.
Yeah. and it's solvable.
It's solvable. Yes.
I mean, you talk to so many people. I know, Carson and Mark Hunter is like, I was a horrible salesperson at first. Yeah, we all
were.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Carson, we're at the hour. We told Liz we were going to be about 40 minutes. We never, Noor laughed at me when Liz
just kept coming up with gold nuggets. I mean,
That's right.
You just turn the faucet off when it's pouring gold. Come on.
Carson, you want to wrap us up and say bye to everybody?
Absolutely. Liz, always a pleasure.
Thank
you
you
to the audience for being with us today.
Appreciate it.
And until next time, everyone,